I feel like the level of challenge that you've been putting to the business community has been increasing as you've got runs on the board and you've had more success in your career. And this book, your book that's about to come out, The Human Side of Innovation, The Power of People and Love with People, seems to, at least to me, to speak really to that. You speak about love. You speak about these concepts that are so innately human but don't often make their way into the nation's boardrooms. These aren't things that business people comfortable with expressing usually within a corporate context. And you do this quite freely. I mean, this is inherent clearly to who you are and what you're about. But how do business people respond to this? You speak in boardrooms, you speak at conferences, you bring this up in meetings, no doubt. You're talking about it on podcasts and on your social media. Do these business people that you run into, do they see this as a piece of art that they're willing to leave on the gallery wall? Or is this something that you're seeing business people become more comfortable with thinking and acting and living in these terms?
I love this question. It's a very smart one. Look, it's been a journey, and you need to understand when you can push and when you need to step back. And so you said it in your question already. I can afford to talk about certain topics today because of the track record of successful projects that landed in the world, and therefore the business value, the financial value that I was able to build for these companies. If I was entering this company, PepsiCo, 3M before, right away talking about love and kindness, and people would have rolled their eyes, be like, okay, he's a nice guy for sure, but we don't really need this shit. They would have used probably exactly the word. So what I did was, first of all, build proof points as fast as possible. That's really needs to be one of the main goals that you set for yourself. Show value in all possible ways. That is financial value, tangible value. One of the criteria should be how tangible and visible is the value I'm building to the company, and prioritizing that, because the more tangible, the more they're going to invest in you and what you're pitching. The more you start to have those proof points, the more you can start to talk about the enablers that drove you to deliver those results. So essentially, if I start to generate a series of projects that are very successful, and I talk about the empathy of my team that was able to, that enable essentially my team to generate those projects that have been successful, people will be like, okay, I see that actually the projects are successful. If you talk about this, there may be truth, maybe yes, maybe not. If you talk about this consistently in time, so your story is consistent in time, and you every time connect it to something that is tangible and visible, people will start to believe more and more about that specific value you're pushing. Then the next step forward, if you start to link that intangible value, we talked about empathy, kindness, optimism, the characteristics of these incredible innovators that I call the unicorns in the book. You link those values to productivity, efficiency, financial return, and essentially you show that those superpowers are the ones that made those projects happen, that made that change or the evolution of the culture happen. They generate so much business value for the company. They will be like, wow, that's interesting, because and the reason why they probably are going to believe you is that you've been generating that value. You have been generating value where eventually they thought you were going to fail. So they will understand that somehow there is something different in what you did. But it's not something you come up with after years and all of a sudden you're like, oh, by the way, this was all about love. No, it's really from the very beginning, you start to hint, that idea. You start to share it. But at the beginning, it needs to be slow. Few things, few fragments of the vision, proof point, and then more fragments, and then more proof points. And then it grows, both things grows together. The more the proof points, that are tangible and financial driven, the more you can start to talk about what is really enabling that success story.